everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Hope for Humanity series, Season 2. Today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Jackie Pierson. So I want you to join me in welcoming Jackie. She's a mental health clinician and former contestant on the NBC hit show The Biggest Loser from 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I think you have such a fascinating story. I mean, she's also my niece, let me say that. But I want to thank you so much for joining me. I know that you're a very busy lady and you have to go back to California in a couple days. So thanks for taking the time to come here in the studio and do this interview with me. And I just wanted to talk a little bit. I know the viewers are very interested in some of the experiences you had at the ranch when you were on the show. Because I know myself, when you left to go to the ranch and you were cut off communication with all your family and your friends, and I remember having a panic attack. And at the time, I messaged your husband and said, I don't think I can deal with this. I feel like Jackie's been kidnapped. And he said, I totally know what you mean. And it was a devastating experience for us. But tell the viewers what it was like on your end to all of a sudden be cut off of communication with everyone.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really devastating. It happened really quick. So I was informed that I was a finalist, and they flew me off to LA, and we stayed in a hotel for a couple of weeks where we, did a bunch of just testing and interviewing, and all of a sudden it was like, okay, you made the show, we're starting filming tomorrow. And it was like, what? Okay.
Wow.
Then it was, take your phones away and then start the journey. So it really happened super quick.
Did they inform you beforehand that they were going to be doing this, taking away all your...
Yeah, you knew what was going on. I mean, throughout the whole process, they were explaining things about what would happen if you did make the show. They were really supportive and just, always kind of letting you know what was happening. But it was very nerve-wracking because there was, I think that season, I was in season 16, and there was, I believe there was 26,000 people that applied for that season.
Wow.
Yeah. And there was 20 of us that made it. So, just even getting to the point of being invited into the finals was like such a super surreal experience.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Wow. But was it scary at all at that moment of disconnect?
It was. Yeah, I have two daughters. They were pretty little at the time, like 5 and 2. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But, had a really good support system at home. And so they were just like, go for it. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. But you have to go for it. It's like a once in a lifetime thing. So I did. I just made the decision I was scared. I was super scared, super nervous. Not knowing what to expect, but I just went for it. I had to go for it. Yeah.
And you just had to sort of deal with this disconnect. Now you were surrounded by strangers, right? Because these people, you didn't know them.
No, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Wow, that's so brave of you to do that. Not a lot of people can do that.
Well, I didn't think that I would be. When I first thought about it, it's a pretty big step, to take.
Oh, it's a huge step for
and
sure.
I just, as scared as I was just like, I have to try, who's going to get this opportunity?
Right.
And so I just had to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. And what are some of the experiences you had dealing with the, like the regime, the training and the diet and all of that stuff? Was that really hard to adapt to?
Well, I mean, I've struggled with my weight now, like most of my adult life.
Yes.
So it's been a struggle for me. It's still a struggle for me. So I feel like I've tried pretty much every diet out there, every regimen. I was an ex-athlete when I was younger. Right, so I was pretty used to really intense training. So that part wasn't actually, it's funny because the exercise itself wasn't hard. The eating wasn't even hard. We had a really good support system on the show. We had nutritionists that worked with us, doctors. They really monitored us on the show. And they really took care of us. Like, they really helped support us in that way. So it actually made it a lot easier to do. And you're kind of like in your own bubble there, your own bubble of like support. So it makes it easier. But I mean, working out like 6 hours a day that's tough. That's like a full-time job.
Yes, that's very intense.
Yeah, it's a full-time job. But I think for me, the hardest part was being away from my daughters, being away
Yeah.
from home,
Mm-hmm.
because I was there for 12 weeks. I was gone
Yeah,
for 12
right.
weeks. And then just having to, the hardest part was having to look inwards. You know, I
Yeah.
spent a lot of years not looking inwards and
Mm-hmm.
having to go there with myself. That was probably the hardest part, I would say.
That was an interesting thing that I found. Well, all of us at home were cheering you on when you were
Yeah.
on the show, and I remember the hardest part was watching those emotional moments.
Mm-hmm.
I had to actually leave the room a few times when you were on.
Yeah.
The part where you were on, I had to. It was hard to see
Mm-hmm.
you in that kind of emotional state. You're such a strong woman, and that's what I was wondering about too. The aspects of it, the psychological aspect and the spiritual aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Were they addressing those things on the show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. We had first of all, we had a psychologist on the show who was really
Right.
supportive. So we had
Mhm.
access to a
Mhm.
psychologist whenever we needed somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was more than that. It was where really a lot of the support came for me was with the fellow contestants.
Oh, okay.
Because everybody
That
was kind of
camaraderie,
that camaraderie.
right? Yeah,
We
yeah,
were all
exactly.
it was a season where we were all ex athletes, so we're used to being
Right,
on teams
yeah,
and
yeah.
supporting one another. So we were doing a lot of that, and then also just we were all going through the same stuff. You know,
Right.
everybody was having to look inwards, and so having other people that were. That's why it's a really unique experience because
Right.
you're all going through it at the same time. You know,
Yeah,
and so you have each other
exactly.
to support one another. But yeah,
Well,
it was tough. It was
You
it was
talk
tough that way.
about the athletic part of it. Now, I remember when you were a star athlete in high
Uh-huh.
school and so forth, and you were also a model at that
Mhm.
time, and your weight was not a problem. It was
Yeah.
not an issue even throughout your life. It became an issue later on. Do you think that being an athlete and then afterwards, after high school, no longer doing the athletic sports,
Mhm.
do you think that's where the weight gain issue
Oh,
kinda
absolutely. I
came
think it
in?
was a big
Yeah.
part of it. You know, my body
Okay.
had gotten used to training
Right.
at a certain level,
Mhm.
and then you stop training. You know, I went into college, and
Right.
it became about school for me at that point.
Mhm.
And so I stopped training. Like we
Right.
were, we were a high school team, but our coach worked us out a lot.
Right.
So that was a big part of it. Also, I
Yeah.
think for me, I grew up in poverty, and
Mm.
so I had a lot of food insecurities, and so I never really knew how to eat healthy growing up.
Right,
And
but-
so that along with lack of exercise, it just
Exactly.
Mhm.
Because I think eating habits play a big part in it, right? But as a child, you didn't struggle with your weight,
Mhm.
but then it became an issue later on in life. I
Mm-hmm.
guess it was like, hey, I can eat whatever I want, so it's like let's go to McDonald's, let's go
Yeah.
here and there,
Yeah.
and just sort of eating unhealthy. And then, at what point did you realize that your weight had become a problem?
Well, I mean, I would say where it really, at the point where it kind of became out of control for me, was when my dad got sick. So my dad went through cancer, and us as a family it was very hard for us. We wanted to be
Right.
there for my dad and be
Yeah.
strong and support him, and so I just kind of ate my emotions. And I think that year that he was sick and then passed. Probably gained like 60 pounds in like that 1 year.
Emotional eating.
Yes, emotional eating.
Okay.
I was being strong on the outside, so I thought,
Right.
but I was
exactly.
really eating my feelings
It was
and
a
my
crutch.
grief. Yeah,
It was a
a
crutch.
complete crutch.
It's like some people turn to alcohol or
Yeah.
drugs, or some people turn to food.
Turn to
right?
food, absolutely.
So that's what it was for you. It was more
Mhm.
emotional eating.
Yeah.
And then it just became a habit, I guess. It's like every time you had emotional stress or so forth, you just went to the food in
Yeah.
order to.
And I think a
up.
lot of people can relate to that.
Absolutely.
It becomes an emotional, and not
Absolutely.
even just when you're stressed. It's when you're stressed. It's when you're happy. It's when you're
okay.
bored.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it becomes that friend that's always
It's-
there.
Exactly.
And I hear that so much from people.
Yeah.
And for me, I still find myself doing that at times. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, what am I
Yeah.
doing right now? Am I hungry? No, I'm not hungry. I'm just bored.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like any crutch that people use, drugs, alcohol,
Yeah.
whatever it is their thing is,
Mhm.
they turn to that a lot of times, like you said, out of boredom, out
Mhm.
of sadness, out of happiness, whatever, every excuse to just
Yeah.
sort of go to that, right?
Mhm.
And when you were at the ranch, you had explained to me after you finally got home and stuff, and that there were some moments there that they really touched on things. Like, did they really, like, the psychologist was there, right? But what about the spiritual aspect of it? Did you guys deal with, you know, any spiritual part or religious part? I know you grew up Catholic and you're more of a spiritualist, I guess, now. But what about the spiritual aspect of?
Well, I think with myself, not as much. But I know there were a lot of people there at the ranch that, you know, really, the idea of their religion and that really kind of held them through. Where I think for me, the spirituality piece came in was, you know, I believe that, you know, our family on the other side are who look out for us. You know, and I was always told, our family was told by an elder that whenever we see a white butterfly, that was my dad coming to say hi and to support us. Wow. And I got to tell you, when I was there, I saw it almost every day. And I just felt his presence really strong there. And so I felt like that's where I really drew a lot of my strength from, was from that.
So you felt him with you?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I just love that, the fact that, and I believe in that too. I mean, her dad was my brother, and I feel him around a lot. And sorry, I'm just getting a little bit emotional right now, just thinking about all of that. But I think it's great that you felt that support even from the other side during such a difficult, like, I can't even imagine how difficult that would have been for you.
Yeah.
Like, going through all of that, and you did wonderful, Jackie. Like, we were all cheering you on over here. And you did amazing on the show, and the emotional moments that they had, because they had the camera on each contestant, and there was the times with you, and like I said, I had to walk out of the room because it was just too hard to see that, you know. But I understood that we're going through, and it makes me feel so much better knowing that, you know, you felt that support from the other side as well. So,
well, I remember there was one moment that I was having you know, a moment with my trainer Jesse at the time, and he, you know, we were talking about, you know, there was a particular morning. I was tired. I kind of had enough. It was probably about week 9 or 10. I was missing my daughters, you know, just tired of not talking to them. And we're working out. It was an early morning workout on camera, and just started crying. Like, and I just like don't know where that come from. You know, like it's not. I'm not emotionally easy to be emotional.
Exactly.
And I just couldn't stop. You know, and when he was talking, and I was like, I just miss my kids. I just want to go home, and I miss them. And you know, and he said, you know, Jackie, like I get it. Like, you miss your kids, and if you go home right now, like, and you were there physically, but were you really there? You know, were you really there? You're a mom, and yes, you were in that room, but were you really there? And I thought, wow.
Question.
Yeah. I thought, wow, I was just there, and I wasn't there, you know?
Oh,
and that was really impactful for me when he said that. I was like, and I think as moms, a lot of moms can relate to that. You know, we have our own things going on. We're the caregivers. We have to put ourselves last. We feel like we always have to. And we forget about us. You know, and I think one of the biggest things I learned as a mom and just as a person in general is that we have to be there for us, and it's okay. And we're not selfish, and we're not bad people. Because if we're not there for us, then we're not there for anybody else. You know?
Absolutely. And I think that's amazing that he said that to you. What a great question and, you know, a comment. And it stuck with you, obviously. I mean, you're talking about right now. And again, too, about, like, we all struggle with our weight, right? Especially as women, but men do as well.
Yeah.
I have a lot of male friends who are just as concerned about the pounds as the women are. But it seems like mostly women are concerned about that. It's not just about the vanity aspect of it, but also the health aspect.
Yeah.
So have you felt that your health has been impacted from the times when you had your weight up as opposed to when your weight was down?
Definitely. I mean, I still work on it. It's still a struggle for me. You know, I still go up and down. But one thing that I feel like, you know, when you get this guilt, like, oh my God, I put on weight and people are going to see it. You know, I'm tired of being ashamed of that.
Okay.
You know,
good. That's good. Yeah.
It's us women, we're always so ashamed of that. And I'm tired of that. You know, it's what I realize now is like, I get on back on it much quicker than I used to. I mean, I would spend years just in this dark hole, like ashamed and not wanting to do it. But now it's like, you know, I'll go off for a while, but then it's like, nope, I have the tools and I know what I'm doing, and I get back on a lot quicker than I used to. and it's more about the health for me now. Like I just
Right.
want to keep my
Yes,
health in good
exactly.
shape.
And that's what I feel for everybody now.
Yeah.
It's not so much about who cares what you look like.
Yeah.
Weight can go up and down, but the health thing is what's
Yeah.
the most important, and how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself when my weight is down, how I feel physically. I feel like I can conquer the world. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm 20 years younger.
Yeah.
When I put on the weight, then I feel, older and
Yeah.
sluggish and just like,
Yeah.
so it does make a difference in terms of that, in
Yeah.
terms of health and mental health, I think,
Yeah.
as well, right?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I'm realizing that when my weight starts going up, there's something going on. Like I got to check in with myself,
Yeah.
or I got to check in with somebody
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
something's going on, and
Right.
I'm so
Exactly.
every time this happens, I'm more and more aware,
Yeah.
and I realize, everybody talks about, now I got to start all over. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
you're actually not starting over. You're starting
Exactly.
over with more tools this time,
Right,
and that's
exactly.
a big difference. I think we beat ourselves up too much.
Absolutely.
Like, it's the
Yeah.
be all end all.
Right.
It's this or it's that.
It's
There's
that,
no
yeah,
in between, but
right,
it's like, no, it's
exactly.
not that. It can be
Yeah.
in between.
Most of life, let's
is in
face
between.
it, is
Yeah,
in between,
exactly,
right?
exactly.
We have our good years and we have our not so good years, and most of it is just in
Yeah.
between, and we coast. Well, you have two young girls.
Mhm.
Like, how important is it for you as a mom to instill proper eating in your children? Is that an important thing for you, or
It
you just
is.
let them?
No, it is for me, because I didn't have it growing up as
Mhm.
much. So it's important for me to instill that. I mean, I don't want to make them feel like they can never have anything, cookies or
Right,
anything like that. But I
exactly.
want them. To me, it's important for them to learn balance. That's the biggest thing is the balance.
Balance is the key, right?
Yeah,
It's
because
always the key.
you're
Yeah.
not living if you can never have a piece of cake.
Right.
You're not living
True
if
enough.
all you're eating
Yeah,
is
yeah.
cake. So it's
Good point.
it's
Yeah.
finding that balance.
Yeah.
That's what I want to teach them.
So that's what you're teaching them.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's definitely good. And what about in terms of exercise? Well, I know your girls do a lot of,
Mhm.
swimming and things
Yeah.
like that at home and stuff.
I
so-
think it's finding what you enjoy doing
Yeah.
and doing it. Because if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not going to
True.
do it,
True.
or you're not going to do it in any kind of sustainable way.
But your
it's,
kids like the activity.
yeah,
and all
yeah,
that,
they're in
right?
ballet.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
they're different. One
Mhm.
like is much more girly and one's not as girly, and so it's honoring that. Like
Yeah.
I'm not a ballerina, I have nothing to do with that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But
Your kids are their own people,
yeah,
right?
they're their own people, and I
Yeah.
support that.
Absolutely.
So it's finding what they like to do and going with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of these programs, such as like The Biggest Loser,
Uh-huh.
and all these weight loss programs that people jump
Yeah.
into, especially in the month of January when
Yeah.
the New Year, New Me stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think of these? You've been through them,
Mhm.
right? Obviously, I mean, the biggest one was the TV show you were on.
Yeah.
But what do you think of these programs? Do you think that they ultimately are the answer, or do you think they have their place, or
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a good question. From my perspective, what I would say is before you even start anything like that, my biggest piece of advice and what I'm learning
right.
is to, first of all, you need to address why the weight is there.
Okay.
There's
good.
a reason why,
Okay.
especially when you get really up there in weight.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
They're obese
It's
when you're
yeah,
tipping the
yeah,
scales
and
like that,
it's the mental health clinician in me that comes
Right.
out, and I started seeing somebody. I started seeing a therapist to talk about
Really?
these issues because there's a reason, and I needed to get down to the bottom of it. I could diet with the best of them. I could exercise with the best of them, but there's a reason why.
There's a core issue.
There's a core
at
issue,
the bottom of it all, right?
For me, some of that is just food insecurity.
Okay.
Realizing that I no longer am that poor kid with barely any food in the fridge. That I now can control that. And so I have to talk to somebody about those things.
Right,
Whether it be
exactly.
traumas in your life. I mean, you have to figure out what it is and see somebody regularly. Start there. I say
Oh,
start
really?
there. Yes.
Okay.
Even if you can't afford an expensive
Yeah.
therapist, talk
Yeah.
to somebody about it. Like, first of all, try and recognize what it is.
Yeah.
A lot of us have no idea. We have
True
no
enough.
real true idea of what it is. Then from there, find something you like to do.
And that's amazing. Like, Jackie, with all of your stuff, like you worked at Stanford University, right? You've done so many psychology courses and so forth. And do you feel maybe that you chose this line of work because you were trying to get to the bottom of maybe what your court issues were.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I think,
the case of physician heal thyself.
yeah, totally.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting, because that's what I kind of thought, because it just seems like you have a brilliant mind. I mean, there's no one would deny that. Anyone who knows this lady would know she has a very brilliant mind. And I mean, if you can't figure it out, nobody can. So, but then I find when it comes to ourselves, it's very, very hard to pinpoint something, because you can look at someone else and say, hey, I can see the problem.
Yeah.
But then when you look at yourself, there's a lot of layers there,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And so
that's what was crazy about being on the show, is because every single person there had to look at what they've been avoiding for years. You know,
Really?
we had to look at what we didn't even know what was there. You know, and as you're going through it and you're sweating daily and you're hungry and you're eating well and you're eating completely different than you're used to eating, and the crutch is no longer there, you have to then.
Were there moments that you wanted to give up and just go home?
Absolutely. I mean,
Really?
I think the biggest thing, and probably now looking back was even more of an excuse, is because, oh, I'm a mom and I got to get back to my kids. No, my kids are being taken care of just fine, you know? But it's scary. It's scary to go there. It's scary to go there.
Put that mirror of reflection on yourself. That's...
Yeah.
Wow. And after all that you've been through and all the different methods and everything, what would you say now would be, you're in an exercise regime again now, right? At home. So what would you say to the viewers would be the best way to just deal with, I mean, other than obviously good points about getting to the core issues, in terms of diet, do you think that, you know, eating certain way, do you omit certain things, or a certain amount of exercise? Like, point blank now, what are you doing to get back into your fitness?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm no nutrition expert, but I think, I mean, I've learned a lot about nutrition.
I'm sure you have.
A lot.
Yeah.
I think what works for me is taking it slow, and trying to make changes slowly. Because I've gone extreme, and it's hard.
The crash diet.
Yeah, and
those
it
things,
sucks.
I've tried those things too. Not a good
and you're
idea.
miserable,
Exactly.
and like, who wants to do that?
I tried the no carb thing. After a week, it was like I was salivating at the McDonald's commercials.
That normally you wouldn't even notice.
Exactly, right? I was like, oh, that looks so good. I totally get me.
Yeah, and like substituting things that you love to eat, but
Right.
figuring out like whether it be like, okay, I'm gonna use ground turkey instead of like full fat, beef. Like
Right.
little things like
Just
that, they
little
start
things?
to add
You
up.
think they make a difference? Yeah.
They make a huge difference.
That's
and even
cool.
with moving, I used to tell like even my grandma, who was pretty immobile at one point, grandma, just move. Like even if it's like 2 minutes, like 1 minute up the street and 1 minute back, and then just build on it. Just move. That's what our coaches used to tell us.
Physical activity, right?
That's what my coaches used to
important,
tell us. Move in the way you can. Not everybody can move.
True.
And has the full mobility, but figure out how you can move. We had one of the guys on the show at the time was injured. His lower body was injured. So the coaches were working his upper body, sitting in the chair working his upper body, and he was like sweating and getting exercise in.
Yeah.
And just figuring out what you like to do.
That's what I like about yoga. Have you ever tried yoga?
Yeah, I've tried yoga. Yeah.
Yoga is awesome, especially for older people with stiff joints and things like that, because it's subtle movements. But really, that can make a difference too in terms of mobility and things like that. And that can actually get you up and moving so that you can start walking.
Yeah.
Walking is a very good
Walking, I love
exercise,
walking.
right?
I really like walking. I like hiking. When I was at the ranch, there was like a mountain up behind the house, and it was about an hour to do the walk up in the mountain, and I do it like 3 times a day because I loved it. I also love swimming because it was really easy on the body.
Swimming is one of the best exercises.
Yeah, one of my some of my best weight loss weeks were when I would just swim. Like one time, one of the weeks my back went out on me because I had from old athletic injuries.
Right.
I had a back go out on me. My back went out on me, and the coaches and trainers just had me in this. I was not allowed to go in the gym that whole week. I just went in the pool and did stretches and then eventually swimming a couple days later.
Exactly.
I think I lost almost 10 pounds that week.
Wow.
Just swimming and being in the water.
That's such a great exercise. So any of you out there who can get to a pool, believe me, no matter what, I know myself too, when my back was out, swimming is the best thing. And you move all parts of your body in swimming.
And it's fun. Like, it's fun to swim. You know, like we would sometimes after being in the gym for like 4 hours a day, it's like, no more gym, no more, you know. So we just hike and swim, and it was fun. You know, it was a lot of fun. So
nowadays, you're back in the gym again, and
I was out for about a year. I had a knee injury, so that's where some of the weight started piling back on again. But now my knee's a lot better, so I've been just going to the gym. What I find that I really love now, and what I like in a gym, because gyms can be intimidating, but find a good community. You know, a lot of times nowadays people like, you know, like there's like fitness classes with people, like boot camps and stuff like that. Find your people. That's my advice, is find your people and who's going to support you and high five you and make you feel good about being there and make you feel like you belong. That's how you'll stay in the gym. Going every day by yourself, I mean, unless, you know, you like, hey, if you like that, that's great. But I would say find your community, because that's who's going to motivate you. The day you don't want to come and they're saying, let's go, where are you? You'll go, you know. When I was there at the gym, we went to a CrossFit gym out there. And there was just, everybody's high-fiving you, you know, I mean, super athletic, super in shape people, but they were like, go, you know, and encouraging us, and I thought, man, I love this community. It reminded me a lot of being on a team when I was younger.
Exactly, you were used to that, that team spirit. I remember watching you play basketball. You were amazing, star athlete all the way around. And that's why it was kind of shocking when all of a sudden you had the weight problem, because it came on later on in life. But you've been struggling with it, and you did it. How much weight did you actually lose on the biggest?
So, well, on the scale, so when we had first started, they had done this whole body analysis. So they knew exactly what our body analysis was. I ended up losing 66 on the scale. But actually, after the show, they had done the body analysis again, and I actually lost 93 pounds of fat.
93
pounds and then I gained, I think, like 30-something pounds of lean muscle.
Wow.
So so I lost almost 100 pounds of fat.
In 12 weeks?
No, it was, how long was it? 3 months or 6 months?
In 6 months. Oh, because after the show, when you left the ranch.
Once I left the ranch, I went home, and then I had to continue.
Right, you continued the regime for a while, right? But that's extraordinary. Wow, really extraordinary.
It was almost 100 pounds of actual fat.
And how did you feel
I felt awesome. I felt wonderful. Like, it was like there was nothing I couldn't I couldn't face, you know?
Exactly.
And it wasn't just, okay, I lost weight, great, look at me. It was, man, I just felt good. You know, it felt good to feel good.
And the confidence comes back. I noticed, like, even with myself, when I gain weight, confidence is not so much there. When I'm doing my workouts and I'm feeling good and lean, confidence is back there and full and strong. And not to mention, breath capacity is better. Everything is better. Your mobility, you feel more confident. Even walking or running or doing or playing with your kids, you just feel like, I'm not going to stumble. I'm not going to fall.
There's like this extra pep in your step for sure.
Right.
Like for me,
I can keep up with them.
Like I got to start all over. Well, not totally start all over, but I mean, I'm back at it now in the gym, and I already noticed, like, even my energy is so much better.
Your energy level, that's a huge thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Especially as we start getting older, energy is so important. Because we start to lose them, because we get kind of lax and kind of lazy as the years go on, right?
Well, it's easy to do that, especially when you're busy. You know, when you're a busy adult, it's easy to...
Exactly, and I know you're super busy. And I want to thank you so much for coming by here and talking to all of us and telling your story. It's a fascinating story, and I'm sad to see you leave, but I will be seeing you again next time in California. I'll be coming to visit you. So any closing thoughts that you would like to add here before we say goodbye to the viewers?
No, I mean, just, you know, thanks for having me, obviously. You know, I'm hoping that, you know, if there's even one of you that can kind of relate to anything I've said, you know, I think a lot of us are in the same boat. I think a lot of us feel the same way. If you have any questions, you know, reach out on this feed, and I will definitely answer them. I'm always open to share more of my experiences if you want, and just find what works for you. You know, quit putting such pressure on yourself to be perfect. I know all about that. I'm a Virgo. So don't be so perfect. Be okay with being imperfect.
and just, you know, do what works for you, what makes you happy. I mean, life is short, and you know, just do what makes you happy.
Amen to that,
Yeah.
my dear. And thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of the Hope for Humanity series. I will be seeing you again next week. Namaste. Much love from Star Lordess. Signing off now. Bye-bye.